Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September 9th, 2015 episode of Balls Deep Sports Talk with me, your host, Scotty Ball. And this happens to be our landmark, historic 30th anniversary episode of the show. So, for starters, thanks for listening. People listening is what makes that possible, as well as the people, especially Adam at WNLMradio.com, who were looking for a sports talk show, and I decided I'd give it a try, and here we are 30 weeks later, 30 episodes later, still going strong. Now, I will be keeping tonight's episode, to around right on 2 hours. A couple of different reasons I'm going to be doing this, but the main reason for that is because I have fantasy football drafts to do tonight. Yeah! I love fantasy football. If you've listened to past episodes of the show or know me personally, you would know that as a 30-some-year-old man that I am right now, I'll just say I'm in my 30s, I was a pioneer. I was on the ground floor of fantasy football back in the early 90s as a young child, possibly even late 80s. I'd have to check the dates on it to be exact, but I know by 90, 91, 92, I was a commissioner of a fantasy football league that I made my parents play in with me. So that should tell you how enthusiastic and passionate I am about fantasy football. I absolutely love it, and I have not only one but two fantasy football drafts tonight. The first one that I'm going to be in is a 12-team league, and it's an auction style draft. So for my personal preferences in fantasy football, that's about perfect. But here's where the problems comes in. 45 minutes after that draft starts, I have another draft starting that is an 8-team traditional snake-style draft. So, come 45 minutes after my first league draft, which, like I said, 12 teams auction style, that draft could take a little while. Almost guaranteed that at least for a portion of my evening, I will be simultaneously GMing two fantasy football teams, undergoing the draft process. And, we'll see how it goes. As long as I don't have any technical issues, where like my devices are not signing in or crapping out on me or, stuff like that, I'm sure it'll be okay. I think I can handle it. Again, I've got 20 plus years of fantasy football experience, so I think I can handle two drafts at the same time if I need to. But yeah, that's what I got going on tonight. So, like I said, needless to say, I will need to keep an eye on the clock for how long the show runs. Where usually, we've got a pretty open-ended time slot. Lately, it's been around 2 hours, give or take. Last show was like over 2.5 hours long, and coincidentally, I'm recovering from two critical, fatal wounds to Scotty Ball's ego, if you will, from the last time we talked sports here to this time. Now, A being if you listened to the show last week, which by the numbers you probably didn't, I proposed a Balls Deep Sports Talk Fantasy Football League. I gave out the league name and the password, and I made it public, and it was on NFL.com, and any listener to the show was welcome to join, and hopefully we'd get at least 8 people to have a league. 3 days later, and I was still the only owner of a team in the league. I do know one person, thanks G-Man, who at least tried to sign up. I don't know it. It never showed me that anyone else actually signed up for it. But so that league was deleted, and again I was heartbroken, and my ego took a somewhat fatal blow. But the bigger fatal blow that was really surprising, and I won't share too specifics with you, but I will, share vaguely with you the information. But throughout the entire summer, like I said, this is Balls Deep Sports Talk's 30th anniversary episode. This is the 30th consecutive week that we have been talking sports here on WNLMradio.com on Wednesday nights. The first month or two or so, we had very little. We were starting from scratch, and just building from the ground up. So that was to be expected. Come this last June, July, and August, our listeners were continuing to grow on just extremely impressive, to me, very happy, satisfying rate, where we were nearing, we were getting ready, we were approaching flirting with 1,000 listeners. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, last week, the listener total was just down in, the toilet, where, like I said, the first 5, 6, 7 episodes were. So if I said something 2 episodes ago when, several hundreds of people were listening, and somehow it got taken too seriously or out of context, or it was in some way offensive, I apologize. I have no idea what I said, and however you took it, that's not how I meant it. But I don't recall. I mean, I re-listened to the show, and I don't recall, nothing stood out to me at all. But so, point being is, if you were one of the people who did tune in last week, you're probably a hardcore listener. You've probably been with me through thick and thin, and you're probably tuning in tonight. It might be just a time of year of scheduling, back to school, back to work, summer ended, all that stuff. However, if you are, like I said, part of the Balls Deep Army here, please just continue to do what you can to help spread the word about the show here. We have no advertising whatsoever other than, free social media and word of mouth. So whatever you can do to help spread the Balls Deep word and awareness of the show to people who might be interested in listening to it, I am forever grateful. Whether they end up listening or not, I very much appreciate it. Now, if you're wondering where they can listen to the show and where you can listen to the show, you don't have to tune in here to WNLMradio.com on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. If you want to hear the most recent show at any point in time, 24/7, 365, 69. I don't know. Those are just I don't know numbers. But anyway, you can enjoy the show on demand anytime you like on the free Spreaker app. This is one of my personal favorite ways to enjoy the show when it's not Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Also, I've been told, I've never actually listened to the show on this one, but I have been told that the show is on the TuneIn app as well. I do know for a fact that the show is on SoundCloud, and the show is also on YouTube. So you got plenty of ways to go balls deep whenever you feel in the mood to. So, again, whatever you can do to help me spread the good Balls Deep word, I greatly appreciate. And also, while you're doing that, and if you haven't taken advantage of this yourself yet, you should follow the show on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, at BDST Show. Very simple, at BDST Show. Or, if Facebook is more your thing, you can friend me and like me at Scotty-Ball. Very simple, Facebook, Scotty-Ball. I have 2 pages, they're both me. You'll see a show logo, says Balls Deep Sports Talk on it. Fairly obvious. So, that should be all the plugs that I got to get out of the way and non-sports related talk. And now we can start giving you the outline and overview of what's going to be coming up on the show. will be talking tons of football. This will be a very football-heavy episode. We are just coming off of the first week of the college football season, so there's plenty to discuss there. And we are also on NFL kickoff night eve, whatever you want to call it, as the NFL regular season starts tomorrow night in prime time when the New England Deflategates, the New England Patriots, who will have Tom Brady suiting up starting at quarterback. So much for that 4-game suspension. We'll go into that as well, of course. They will be taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you've got your whole set of Sunday games, and then come Monday night is the return of Monday Night Football. But with it being the opening night of the season, instead of just the one Monday Night Football game, we have 2 Monday Night Football games, an East Coast one that starts early and a West Coast one that starts late. And, of course, in the very last game of the week, the San Francisco 49ers will be hosting my, and maybe, possibly, hopefully, your Minnesota Vikings, who should be cruising to a 1-0 start against the, not likely a playoff team, San Francisco 49ers, and we'll leave it at that for now. The reason we'll leave that at that for now is because I will be revealing my entire team-by-team, division-by-division 2015-2016 NFL season predictions. You do not want to miss that. And I will probably, again, we're going to be talking a lot of football. First hour and a half is probably going to be football. Last half hour will be everything else. That's kind of the tentative game plan here right now. So I will be letting you know what record all 32 teams are going to be finishing with, or at least around. I don't necessarily, I don't always get every single team's record predicted correctly, believe that or not. But I'll at least give you, the range of wins, losses, and what to expect and what should be considered, the likely outcome when teams are what we thought they were. In the words of Denny Green, they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. I wasn't trying to sound like Denny, by the way. I was just quoting him. I can't do a Denny impression, although I've known quite a few people here in my life in Minnesota who have done phenomenal Denny Green imitations, impersonations. But so I'll be giving you my prediction for every team's record for this upcoming season in the NFL. So like I said, you'll have an idea of which teams are overachieving when we get to the end of the season, which teams underachieved when we get to the end of the season, and which teams are, like in the words of Denny Green, are who we thought they were and finished right about what we expected. And the goal is to have as many in that category when we're doing our predictions as possible. But again, they're just predictions. They're one humble man's opinion. And so take them for what they're worth. But they're usually pretty good, boy. I'm usually pretty good. As well as the records, I'll also give you my picks for the season awards as well. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, DPOY, O-Roy, D-Roy, Coach of the Year, that kind of stuff. And obviously, my conference championship finalists, as well as the Super Bowl matchup for the upcoming Super Bowl 50, and who is going to be hosting the Lombardi Trophy at that monumental event. So, tons and tons and tons and tons of football to talk about. And that's not even all the football we got to talk about. We'll be talking Tom Brady, Patriots, Deflategate, Roger Goodell, that whole freaking spiel. Tim Tebow. Again, college football. There was a really, really disturbing event that took place in a high school football game that I will most definitely be discussing with you at some point this evening. So tons of football. Can't stress that enough. If you don't like football, just